We'll go ahead and get started. For those that are on Zoom, if you have questions for anyone that does a presentation tonight, please use the raise your hand function so that we can call on you. And then for those that are here in person tonight, if you have a question, we're going to have you come up to the microphone to ask it, just so that there's good enough audio in the recording for folks online to be able to listen to the recording after the fact. I have a couple of announcements to make on behalf of the Community Council, and then we'll get into our agenda. The first is that we're doing our next Community Council cleanup on Tuesday, the 27th at 5:30. If you're interested in that, you can find information on our website, which is glendaleslc.org, and or you can email Stephanie at glendaleslc.org. The other thing, the Community Council for the last year has been putting together a Friends of Glendale Parks committee, and we're looking for volunteers for that committee, basically helping with cleanups in the park, helping with a variety of different things in the park. So if you're interested, please reach out to us. The last thing I want to, or second to last thing, this year the Community Council submitted a couple of CIP proposals, which are capital improvement plan proposals. These are projects between $50,000 and $500,000 that you submit a grant to the city for, and then it builds a capital project of some kind in the city. We had several of them in Glendale that were funded, and I just wanted to give an update on those. So the first one, this one was one that was submitted by the Community Council, is for a transit safety study along California Avenue to look at making pedestrian safety improvements and just making California Avenue safer as folks are crossing from north to south. So that study will be underway hopefully in the next year or so. The second one that was funded was for 900 South soccer fields at the River Park there on 900 South. The third one, the area just west of Three Creeks Confluence, the new park, there's kind of an L-shaped street there on 1000 West and 1300 South that does not have sewer, and the street's kind of falling apart, as well as the Jordan River Parkway there. That was funded to receive sewer, an improvement of the streets, and hopefully an improvement of the 9-line trail there. And then the last piece is that at Cannon Greens, where there has historically been a community garden, the city has put forward funding for a community garden there again, and at a place in Rose Park. So we did pretty well as far as Glendale goes in the community capital improvement plan process. But if you are interested, the applications for this year are due next Friday, and we'd be happy to help you write one, submit one. So if you have a project that's over 50,000 and under 500,000, that's the category, or that's the qualification for those projects. The last thing I wanted to mention, we are doing our annual Jordan River cleanup on Canoes on October 1st. So we'll have 2 shifts, one from 9 to noon and one from 1 to 4. All the equipment is being provided by the Jordan River Commission and other partners. So all you have to do is sign up. In our newsletter, there will be information, and then you can watch social media as well to register. Those are my announcements. We'll move into our presentations now. We're going to start with the Three Eagles development. Trent, if you're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
Yep. Okay.
So I'm Trent Hatch, and we're just doing a project off of 1375 South, 1000 West. It's just a lot that we were going to split up. It went into a planned development because we wanted to put a flag lot in the back of it. And so the name of that is the Three Eagles. We kind of stole some of the Three Creeks and the home of the Eagles with the school on that street there, and kind of combined it for the name of it to kind of fit the community. It's all just going to be single family homes. There is one existing single family home on it, and then we're planning on building 2 new homes, one in the front onto the next of it, and then one in the back. So if there's any questions or anything about that.
Do you have a map or a visual that you could share for folks?
I I'm not too savvy with the Zoom of how I would do that, but I could try. I know Aaron Barlow, he's with the Planning and Zoning Commission. He was going to kind of jump in here and kind of help me with that, he said, but it doesn't look like he's on here yet.
Okay. This
So
is,
I do have a plot map that we have drawn up, and then I'm working on kind of some final preliminary stuff. But we do have like a little plot map that we submitted with an application to the city. Let me see if I could try and figure out how to pull it up.
so if you open it on your screen and then click share screen down at the bottom, it should let you display it.
Oh, okay. Seems simple enough. Let's see if I can. Sorry, I would have had that more prepared if I knew.
Trent, it's okay. We have a really packed agenda tonight. I know that the information from you is on our website, so I will post a link to that information for folks to access after the fact.
Okay, sorry about that. I would have been more prepared with it to show, but
how big the homes are gonna be, or how big the lots are gonna be for these three.
Do you want to come ask him? We have a question for you, Trent. Just you can.
yeah,
just-
the lots are gonna be 7,000 square foot, which fits in with the rest of the block there. And they'll probably be 1,500 square foot homes, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 square foot homes right there. We were thinking in between 1,500 and 1,700 square feet for each home. The one that's existing is it's about 1,000, it's 1,900 square feet that's already on the property. So there is one that's existing, and then the rest are.
So they're definitely smaller.
Yeah. They fit kind of the agenda of the neighborhood there, and they are smaller homes, yeah, to kind of match the neighborhood.
Great.
We don't want to get, too big of homes in there and kind of.
Trent, can you repeat the address?
It's on 1375 South, 1000 West.
And for those of you that want more information, if you go to glendaleslc.org and click on updates, these are all posted there. So any development that's proposed in the neighborhood, we list and publicly link to on our website. So if you want to go download the information and look at it for yourself, you can do so. All right, I'm going to move on. Thank you, Trent. I'm going to move on to the West Side Coalition. Yeah. I'll text him and let him know.
Yes. To the,
Oh, there we are.
there, and then
This one.
I think that one, yes. Yeah, that one should be it.
Okay, give me 1 second to open it up. And then I'll share it on screen.
While you're working with that. Hello, everybody. My name is Daniel Strong. I'm the president of the West Side Coalition.
I'm Marissa Neal. I'm the secretary of the West Side Coalition.
I'm Rick Silver, and I'm the treasurer of the West Side Coalition.
So we're 3 members of the executive board of this group. We're going to tell you a little bit more about the group if we can pull that up. But purpose tonight is just to introduce ourselves, to give you an idea about, can folks online hear me, Turner? Should I use the mic or?
But just
Okay.
talk, yeah.
Yeah, to give you an idea about how you can get involved in some of the things we're doing. So we'll try to be really quick, but here, didn't see you there. Let's go next slide. Thank you. So our mission is to advocate for the health, safety, and quality of life of West Side residents. We do, sorry, back up a little bit. We do that by getting together, talking about the issues that affect us. There's 18 members of the West Side Coalition. Well, that's not quite right. Everybody on the West Side who lives here or has a business here is a member. So you're all members, I presume you live in Glendale. The board of the West Side are these 18 folks you see in purple here. So all 6 community council chairs, 6 at-large who were elected at the last annual meeting, and 6 appointees. So each community council can appoint one other person as well. That gives us our 18 board members. What we try to do is be kind of a collective voice for the West Side. I know because I was the Rose Park chair for a while and was on that community council for a long time that your community councils are really busy, a lot of things going on. And you know, a lot of what we do on the community council level is really just engage with our community and do important things like you already heard about today. Don't necessarily have as much time to get involved in the big policy issues that are coming to us on the West Side, things like environmental justice, public safety, the inland port, of course. So those are the things that we feel like the West Side Coalition can help fill a gap there and amplify your voice and also kind of speak with one voice for the entire West Side. Maybe to add on that, you guys. Great. So let's go next slide. This is kind of how we are organizing. You probably can't see that very well, but we have the board, those 18 folks that I just mentioned at the top, the executive committee, that's us 3, and there's 2 more vice presidents who aren't here tonight. And then we've got these issue area groups you can see on the right, community support, community engagement in the middle, and then 2 long-term projects that are the inland port and the Fair Park market, the international market of the Fair Park. Those are things we've been involved with. So we kind of have this structure where these issues can feed into these most direct kind of involved liaisons at those levels. They report up to us, we report up to the board, and with that we can hopefully kind of tackle anything that comes our way. So.
Excuse me, Turner. I'm not sure how to use the raise your hand function
But the slide is frozen.
on the Zoom chat. It's just on the first slide, so we keep not seeing what slides are changing.
Make sure you share your screen after you made the slideshow.
Oh.
You did the slideshow after you shared.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So stop sharing or go mute sharing there
Hang on.
at the top.
While we're loading that up, I'll just pitch tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow's a big deal for us.
I did the slideshow.
Maybe we're kind of paying attention to this, so.
And then right to the top. Can you switch apps real quick?
Try Alt Tab.
Alt, yeah.
Or push Alt.
There you
Oh, that switched. Never mind.
Hang on.
go. Okay, well,
Okay.
I don't use a MacBook. I don't know how to swap the.
Hang on. Okay.
While they're loading that up, let me pitch. Tomorrow is our candidate forum. Hopefully you've gotten some emails about this. It'll be at the Fair Park. Tomorrow at the Fair Park.
And just scroll through that.
Starting at 5:30, 8:30. We've invited candidates for all offices that represent the West Side or seek to represent the West Side. Representative Rose plan to be there, and the House districts. We've got the DA's office candidates coming, sheriff, county clerk, so folks running for U.S. Congress, and we invite a lot more people too. So I think that Glendale's tabling there probably, maybe.
I don't think.
Okay, but maybe not. A lot of the community councils are tabling there, and we will have food sponsored from Santo Taco and Alche. So it's going to be fun. So make sure you come down for that. All right, let's go next slide.
We're giving away some gift certificates too.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Rick. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we're gonna have this passport and you go around to different candidates and get them to sign it off. And if you get 6 signatures, then you can enter to win a $50 gift certificate. We have 6 of them, so you have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, so please come to that. We want it to be
Initials.
to really be a success. These are our 6 issue areas. I kind of mentioned some of them, but we're always looking to engage on these issues and more. We can add more. So if you have things you're interested in, we're not covered, please let us know. Next slide. Yeah, so these are some of the things we're working on. We have formed the issue areas. We're working on setting up a budget. We've kind of reformed the group recently, so we're still spinning up on some of these things. We are looking at community projects we can engage in and help with. And of course, we're, like I said, looking to weigh in and be a strong voice on those big policy issues that affect us on the west side. And then more than anything, we're hoping to just get engagement from the community and recognition, legitimacy, I guess, from the community for you folks to understand how we can be a resource for you and engage with us. So those are things we're working on. The candidate night I've already talked about. We'll have our next meeting in February, our annual meeting in February, where we'll do elections. We already completed the Paint Your Heart Out, and the international market is a big project of ours that's been ongoing. The next one of those is October
29.
Thank you. October 29th. It's a Day of the Dead theme, which will be cool. We really need the Fair Park market to be a success if they're going to keep doing it. So if you haven't been to one yet, that's the one to go to, October 29th. Make sure
It's from 2 to 8
you
p.m.
have the Fair Park, yeah. And then one more, let's see. The Canada night we've kind of covered. Next slide. So yeah, join us at the candidate night. Come to our monthly meetings if you're interested. We meet the fourth Tuesdays at NeighborWorks. We also have online meetings. The best way to get those notices and so forth is just go to our website and sign up for our mailing list. The website,
Westsideslc.org.
westsideslc.org. I think it's on the next slide, maybe not.
No, it's on that slide.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's on that. Okay.
Oh, and
Anything to add?
if you're interested in joining an issue area committee, contact Blake Perez. I believe it's Blake Perez at hotmail.com. He'd be happy to connect you with the committee of your choice. And
if you want to do it, there's a good chance you'll get to do
yes,
it. We need people to come and help out with this, and we need to engage with the public like that. But you guys really want us to do.
Right.
We're trying to represent everybody on the west side, and we need input from you guys to really be able to do that properly. Otherwise, we're just saying our own opinions and saying that we're west side.
Turner is on our board, of course, and he's also one of the issue area managers for development, right, Turner? For West Side development issues, economic development. So he's a good resource for you to, you can do something to get to our attention, bring it to Turner. But as Rick was suggesting, we have a lot of different groups working on these different issue areas. We'd love to get more people involved. We're all doing our best, but we're only 18 of us, so.
The equity piece is really important to me, and being inclusive, because we are very diverse communities here, and communities of color actually is the majority.
Yeah.
How many people or what organizations are you working with, or communities to make sure that we're engaging all different populations within the neighborhood?
So as I mentioned, we are sort of still reforming this. West Side Coast has been around a while, but it only recently took on this structure with 18 new members. I think there's a fair bit of diversity among that membership because of who was appointed and so forth. As far as directly engaging with outside groups, we have an education subcommittee that's working with the schools. I feel like sometimes that's a good avenue to get more representation and more representative sample of the community. But these are conversations we're having, and we're eager to do more. So let us know how we can.
Elected officials who are engaged and
Please, yeah.
You're willing to help you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, we would love that. Any other questions? Comments, concerns? Yes.
Who's funding?
So we have a few sources of funding. We have grants that we've obtained through, I think one of them was a federal grant for health issues that we are done some vaccination campaigns and so forth with that in the past. We have some money from the city from different grants. We had one donor who submitted a large donation before our time on the board, and we still haven't kind of run through all that money yet. A private donor.
People.
The Utah, yeah, we partnered with Utah Clean Energy. They're a group that advocates for electrification of homes and kind of general economic justice stuff. So we've got a large donation from them as well. That's it so far. We are looking for new funding sources. Kind of the problem is we have this pot of money that we are using to do some of these big events and stuff. And we would like to do things like have a permanent staffer who can help like ease some of our burden and engage more directly with community councils and so forth. So we don't all necessarily have time for. But in order to kind of get those things, we need like an ongoing source of funding. So those are, again, conversations in the works. Yeah.
So if you're interested in doing some fundraising for us, you can also come and join our group.
We'll pass the hat in a minute too. So, all right.
Now you're kind of working class. But
Yeah.
You don't have to give us money, you can give us time.
Yeah.
if you're interested in learning how to do fundraising or doing fundraising, come and talk to us, because that's definitely an area that you can use some help with as well.
Well, thank you for your service. I know how much time and commitment it takes to volunteer and serve your community. So appreciate all that you're doing.
Thank you. And again, we want to, our main goal is to be responsive to the needs of the West Side. So if we're missing something, let us know. Please go to the website, join email us so we can keep you informed about what we're talking about. We can be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Anybody else?
All right.
Thanks. We're going to move on now to Parks and Public Lands.
Amazing. I think that's me. Hello, everybody. My name is Kat Moss. I'm a public lands planner for Salt Lake City, and I just have a couple of things I want to present on today. First and foremost, I'm here very excited to be here to present on the Glendale Regional Park Master Plan and where we are at with that right now. And then I also want to touch on a couple of other projects that are going on in Glendale right now that are open for community engagement. So can everybody hear me okay? I'm going to share my screen.
How is the sound? Okay.
Can folks see my screen and also hear me?
Yes, we can in person.
Okay, awesome. That sounds great. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. This has been quite a little bit of a long process, and I think I've been before this group, Glendale Neighborhood Council, a few times now. I've gotten some really good input and feedback from you all, so thank you so much. But I am here tonight with Leah Jaramillo on our community engagement team with David Evans and Associates. And we've been working with Design Workshop as our consultant and Nancy Monteith in the engineering division of Salt Lake City to kind of bring you this park plan to reimagine the Raging Waters site on 1700 South that we're calling Glendale Regional Park. I'm really pleased to announce that the draft master plan is live and online. We are working through an adoption process right now. We'll be moving through Planning Commission and eventually City Council for formal adoption of this plan. So I just wanted to take a moment tonight to kind of show you where we're at, kind of do a big reveal for what the site plan looks like, and then orient you all to the plan and show you where you can find this draft document and kind of familiarize yourself with this site design at your leisure, and then I want to provide ample time at the end for any questions. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive in. How we got to this point, we have a draft master plan right now that kind of goes over what the site will look like, maintenance and operations, programming, ecological restoration, community gathering spaces, anything that you can imagine that you'd want to see in a regional park. And that includes the site plan for the future Glendale Regional Park. So we've spent about the last year doing some pretty robust community engagement to arrive at the point where we're at today. We really started with the Glendale community. We wanted to make sure that the vision was driven by the Glendale community and was a place really oriented to the identity of this community that also was able to serve all the residents of the city. So we kind of started by attending a lot of neighborhood and community events in the Glendale neighborhood that were already kind of taking place. We engaged initially with about 110 participants in those events, and to kind of give us a framework for where we can start, what we want to see in this park. And from there, I was really excited about this portion of the engagement. We reached out to Glendale Middle School and Mountain View Elementary to kind of have them create this first vision of what we wanted to see. So we spent a couple of months meeting with the Glendale students, Mountain View Elementary School students, engaging in some presentations and on-site kind of meet and greets with all of them. And they really delivered the initial vision for the types of amenities, the look and feel for this design. So that was really fun and exciting. And then we also had a community advisory committee, which were 14 participating members representing targeted organizations and groups within the Glendale community. to kind of weigh in, guide the goals, guide the mission, and ultimately kind of provide some insight from the Glendale community as to what folks might benefit from in this park. So from that Glendale engagement, we went a little bit broader. It will be a citywide asset. So we opened up an online survey, and we got about a little over 1,300 participants there, and held an open house in person at the Community Learning Center. And so we had about 100 attendees there and got a lot of really, really excellent feedback. So kind of at that point, we developed, or we confirmed these park goals and mission statement for what we want to see at Glendale Regional Park. So kind of like I mentioned, it will be a park that draws folks from all over the city and potentially even beyond, but we wanted it to be really something that the Glendale community identified with, and was really kind of targeted to meet the needs of that community. So that was kind of first and foremost our mission for the park, while also kind of improving the natural resources on the site. It is on the Jordan River. It's 17 acres. It's a really unique site. So kind of celebrating the ecological resources that site brings, and then also just enhancing the quality of lives surrounding that whole park and for all city residents. And then we also really kind of wanted to address an equity issue here. In our community engagement, we were hearing a lot that people were traveling to the east side to some of the larger parks that we have over there, being Liberty Park, Sugar House Park. And so we really wanted a flagship park on the west side that provides a lot of amenities, a lot of activities, a lot of uses. So folks wouldn't have to travel from the west side to east side to get that same park experience. So we kind of focused on safety, high levels of programming to keep the park really active and vibrant and safe, focused on community gathering spaces, which is what we heard in the public engagement a lot, and then really wanted to hone in on those ecological assets that the site has to offer. So based on the public engagement, we had a lot of amenities kind of rise to the top as to things that folks wanted to see here. Lots of trails, active playgrounds for all ages and all abilities with assistive technologies, outside native planting areas where you could really interact with nature, and then additionally community gathering spaces for multiple sizes of gatherings and events, and then some really active play features, full court basketball, pickleball, and of course a water feature kind of rose to the top of the list there. So these are some of the amenities that you'll see in a moment when I move on to the actual plan view. And you can find all this information online as well. I will drop a link in the chat and let you know what that is later if you want to explore a little more. But these are all kind of the features that you'll see on this next slide when I share the vision plan. So without further ado, here is our reveal of the site plan for Glendale Regional Park. For the sake of time, oh no, well, I lost my screen, sorry. For the sake of time, I won't go through all of these amenities, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of key features that came out of the public engagement that we had to be sure to kind of include in this plan. So you'll see trail connections kind of throughout the park, connecting all of these various features. Over here on the west part of the park, kind of adjacent to the current Glendale Park, you'll see a very large area for a playground, and that includes multiple different kind of nodes for various ages. We have taught play, we have a playground for ages 5 to 12, and we're really trying to incorporate some activities and discovery play for older children and even adults in this area as well. So you'll kind of see that over here by number 3 in the playground area. We have a number of pavilions and kind of shade structures to act as community gathering spaces scattered throughout the plan. We've accounted for the additional parking and folks that'll be visiting this park, so we've accommodated that with a lot of parking. We are repurposing the lazy river from raging waters into a skating feature. So in the summer, you'll see that it's kind of a roller skating, rollerblading, scooter rink, and then in winter, we'll be hopefully programming that to be an ice skating ribbon. And then in the interior, you have some climbing features for younger climbing activities, as well as older age climbing activities. The hilltop here is number 14. If any of you have been to Raging Waters, This is kind of where the ladder to the slides went. And even as we demolished those slides, that viewpoint is just stunning. You have 360 views of the city. You can see the Wasatch Mountains. And so we're kind of highlighting those views with a lookout with some ADA accessible trails that kind of lead up to that space. And then here 12, you'll see is kind of an open space that is sloped. So we're hoping to have it be a sledding hill in the winter and kind of an open lawn in the summer. We have 15 here is a skating feature, like a skate park that was highly requested in the public engagement. A lawn over here that can be used for events. It's kind of a flex lawn that is really will be conducive to a number of different types of events, ranging from smaller community gathering events to larger community events with a stage over here. And then we get into the river. We really wanted to incorporate kind of ecological elements into this, some access to the Jordan River and kind of celebrate that asset we have. So we're providing kayak access, some boat ramps and docks. We're exploring a river beach here, potentially with some volleyball and active features, but also a place for just people to enjoy the ecology of the site. And then finally, I will touch on, we also have a dog park over here. I just want to lay that out there. But one of the #1 things that came out of the public engagement, and understandably, kind of as a nod to the old water park site, was a pool or a large water feature. So we wanted to make sure we really included that in the vision plan. We've been having conversations with Salt Lake County to talk about what that will look like into the future. But based on the public engagement and the kind of lack of water access on the west side in general, we knew this had to be an amenity that we included in the vision plan. If you go online and visit our public lands website, there's an interactive map that you can kind of visit that shows what the old site looked like, where the slides fell, and what these amenities will look like on the site. And each one is kind of highlighted with the description. So I'd encourage you all to go on there and kind of dive a little bit deeper. But for the sake of time, I'm going to move on today and kind of go through this master plan. So this is kind of a look at this is a rendering that our consultant did to kind of just mimic like a look and feel that we heard from the public engagement. So lots of colors, very vibrant, play for all ages and abilities, that kind of matches the vibrancy and identity of this community. And then these are a couple more community plaza spaces, places to be able to share food and company with your neighbors, came as really high on the list for community engagement. And then this is kind of a rendering of that sledding hill from the top of where the water slides used to be, looking east towards the Wasatch Mountains. And so 2 really unique amenities to this park, hopefully in the future. Then I just wanted to touch on really quickly kind of the nitty gritty of the plan. The plan is really laid out based on the goals and the metrics that we kind of set and vetted through the community engagement process to make sure that we are delivering what we kind of said we deliver, and it matches the public engagement. So during our engagement, we heard a lot about access to the park, crossing 1700 South. Glendale Regional Park is really kind of the final piece in this long stretch of open space along the Jordan River. And so we wanted to kind of make sure that we were making that connection, making it safe, and then also allowing folks to connect via amenity within the park as well. So we are actually presenting to the Transportation Advisory Board to get their endorsement of the plan as well early next month. So we've been working really closely with them to make sure that we have safe access to and within the park. Another metric that I wanted to just touch on because it was so highly ranked in the public engagement was these community gathering spaces. We have a slew of active play to make sure that the park stays safe, programmed, and activated at all times of the day and the year. But we also wanted to make sure they were kind of passive gathering spaces to allow community members to be able to kind of gather in larger groups, host events, and just kind of celebrate this park and the community in various ways. So you can kind of see those here, how the active play is separated with the passive recreation areas. And then finally, just wanted to touch quickly on the environmental metrics. Right now, it is wild how much impervious surface there is in that site. And we're reducing that quite a bit. By the end of our development, park development, we'll eventually only have about 27% of impervious surface. which is really, really great to see. We're implementing a lot of access to nature in the Jordan River, and we just want to make sure that we're having a really positive impact on the environment with this development, and also kind of responding to the arid climate and the resources that we have as our city is kind of adjusting to some of those climatic changes. So that's kind of an overview of the master plan. Again, I'd encourage you to go kind of take a deep dive. And if you have any comments, feel free. I'll drop an email in the chat at the end of this that you can provide any comments that way. But I did want to touch on what immediate development is going to look like and how we're kind of phasing this out. So we've purchased this land many, many years ago with funds from the Land and Water Conservation Fund, which basically require active recreation to be open on the site within a certain period of time. So from the closing of the Raging Waters, Salt Lake City is committed to having open active recreation on the site, open to the public by April of 2024. So we're currently moving forward with designs for phase 1, which is shown here. We're working on design for trail connections from the current Glendale Park, an all ages, all abilities playground, a large pavilion and gathering space with a lawn area, a multi-use sport court, which will, it looks like pickleball here, but it will actually be full court basketball. And then a community plaza and promenade so that we can really start activating that space. We can have events right away, and then develop this parking area so that there's easy access. We can kind of account for that extra use that we might see on that site. So this is kind of the schematic, they call it schematic design for phase 1. This is kind of the first iteration of more detailed elements that you'll see in April 2024. So we're developing this parking area over here. This plaza will be open for farmers markets, food truck events, things like that to get this park really active right away. And then this is our large playground area. So we have top playground for ages 5 to 12. We have discovery playgrounds and kind of climbing areas, and then some shaded areas for some passive recreation. And so all of these are going to be fully ADA accessible. They'll have assistive technologies. We really want to highlight the all age, all ability play that rose to the top in the public engagement. And then here we're incorporating all native water-wise plants with designated lawn space, of course, for kind of hanging out and passive play. So this kind of just delineates a little more. I'm just going to show you really quickly kind of some of the images that we're looking at and some of the specific design that might kind of dictate the look and feel of the site. So we kind of broke it out into playground, the parking area, a gathering space, and then this really active community plaza for events. So these are kind of renderings of what we're imagining the parking area to be. We want it to be really welcoming, peaceful, adaptive, climate-wise to our, with drought-tolerant plantings and things like that, really water-wise. And then these playground zones I wanted to highlight. So we have the active play for all ages and abilities, discovery play for kind of the catering to all ages, and then top play here for the younger kids. And this will all be fenced off. 1700 South has definitely been at the forefront of our minds as we design, and we'll have this area fully fenced for the safety of the users. And these are some of the kind of images that we're looking at. These won't necessarily be in the park, but these are the types of things that we're hoping to incorporate into the plan. So all abilities play, taught play, playground and discovery for all ages, and then kind of adult features that could incorporate play or fitness in some way. Gathering and event space, we have the full court basketball going in, hopefully incorporate something really unique and to represent the identity of the Glendale community, passive lawn space for hanging out, and then we have a number of shade structures throughout that we want to make kind of unique and not just your average pavilion. And then these are kind of the gathering event spaces that you'll see in phase 1. So we definitely want infrastructure for food trucks, bring the ability for vendors to come in, gathering spaces in the middle for folks to gather. Sorry. And then definitely an area that would be conducive to like a farmer's market so that we can kind of activate that space in that way as well. So we've kind of been exploring unique design elements like these as well for phase 1. And like I mentioned, this design for this is moving forward right now. We're hoping to begin construction in 2023 and have this phase 1 open to the public by April 2024. And so we do have funding to implement this phase right now. And we'll work towards funding the remainder of the plan into the future. And this is Glendale Regional Park is on the Geo Bond, which we will see on your ballot on November 8th for $27 million, which would substantially complete the vision plan. So that is definitely a mechanism that we're looking at for funding the rest of the park. And then really quick, this is my last slide. I'll open it up to questions. I've been talking a while, apologies. But we are presenting a briefing to City Council on October 4th. That is open to the public if anyone would like more information. We'll be sharing kind of the same thing that I shared with you all today. But there is at this link on your screen, the interactive site plan that really goes into the elements of everything that you saw today in the concept plan, detailed information on our public engagement, and then also the full Glendale Park Plan, the full draft document that will be going through the adoption process. And those materials are available in English and Spanish. So if you either use this QR code or click on the link, you will get there. And if you'd like to make any comments, it's also on our website, but you can email publiclands@slcgov.com.
I put all the links in the chat as well while you were talking, Kat. So people
Thank you,
can
Leah.
find those links there as well.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Yeah, you've got a couple questions in the chat.
Yeah, we're going to start with Zoom questions, and then when
Okay.
we finish, we'll go to in-person questions.
Awesome.
Um,
Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up, but I can't find my chat button. There it is.
Ali, or it might be Ali. Do you want to ask your question first? Or feel free to just respond to the ones in writing in the chat, Catherine.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I can do that, definitely.
Can you see them?
Going through. Yes.
Sorry, I couldn't find my mute button. This is Al. I'm just wondering what effect it will have on surrounding businesses. Does 17th South need to be redesigned or structured at all? And are they planning on doing property tax increases in the area, which is something they've done frequently for neighborhood projects?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let's see. We had, in terms of surrounding businesses, I can only imagine that there will be an economic impact. We had a representative from the Swazo Business Center in our community advisory committee. So we had him kind of weighing in on all of the steps of the throughout the process of the creation of this plan. We also had a representative from the transportation division within Salt Lake City who's currently working on a project to improve 1700 South. And so their team kind of did public engagement alongside our project team in conjunction to kind of look at what improvements could be made in the short term on 1700 South to improve that access. And then we're going to kind of continue conversations with the transportation division to work towards longer term solutions to really improve access between the 1700 South River Park and Glendale, as well as the Jordan River. There are a lot of concerns with that crossing. 1700 South is very wide, it's pretty busy, and so we definitely want to make sure that we're taking that into consideration as we develop. And that also kind of went into how we decided on phase 1. There is a safe crossing currently at the Glendale Park. And so that could be utilized for phase 1 as we kind of imagine what 1700 South could be. And then property tax increase. We currently are funded already for phase 1, so that will have no impact on the surrounding community tax wise. The Geo Bond will be on the ballot on November 8th, and that will have implications. I believe more information will be coming on the Geo Bond and specifically what that looks like in October. So sign up for our Public Lands newsletter and you can definitely get updates on that. If that bond passes, there will be tax implications for the parks and public lands projects that are on the Geo Bond, which include Glendale Regional Park.
Thank you.
Oh, I got all those, sorry.
Kat, can I jump in on just a couple points?
Yes, please.
So on, from what I understand from the transportation division, they do not have funds to like completely reconstruct 1700 South. So Ally, if you were thinking about impacts to businesses in terms of like large scale construction, like we've seen in other places of the city, that is not on the table right now. That doesn't mean it won't come in the future, but that's not something that would happen coincident with development of the park site or phase 1 construction.
Okay.
And then there is some information. I saw Ava dropped the link to the Geo Bond in the chat.
Okay.
That is on the ballot. There is early information. It looks like the bond itself is $85 million that's proposed that would be utilized for multiple projects across the city. And the average home value in Salt Lake, the tax burden is about $5 a month for the average home. So more information coming, but you can, at least at the link that Ava provided, you can kind of see what the council agreed to move forward for voters to look at.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
There were a couple of other ones from Paulo.
Hi, Paulo.
Paula was asking about lighting improvement strategies.
Oh, yeah, great question. So that is definitely something that we're taking into consideration in phase 1. Where we're at the design right now, we're like just one level higher than probably site furnishings and lighting. We've definitely discussed potentially lighting the playground. Our park hours they do extend until 11 p.m. technically. And so in order to, we are working with our operations manager and the design team to kind of come up with a strategic implementation of the lighting in order to keep it safe and active, especially during events as well. So we haven't quite fully designed to that level yet, but we're definitely taking it into consideration. Oh, what phase is the pool? That's a great question. To be fully frank, it depends on kind of what happens with the bond first and foremost, and then what happens in the event if the bond doesn't pass, how effective Salt Lake City Public Lands is in both private fundraising and getting additional funds from the city. So I can't fully answer that right now, though we are having conversations with Salt Lake County, who operates all of the Salt Lake City owned pools, and water play in Glendale specifically is in their master plan. So they're also really motivated to see some type of water feature at that site. So it's looking promising. I'm sorry, I don't have more tangible information on a date when that phase will be implemented, but we'll know a little bit more after the election.
All right, I'm going to go to questions here in person. If you have a question, just kind of ask loudly. And if they can't hear you, I'll have you come up, but they should be able to hear you.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, the price that was told to me to fix the water park was $24 million. And you just told me it's $27 million to make a regional park. Is that correct?
I am actually unsure where the 24 million came from, but likely to, I think we were looking at many more millions to resurrect the water park site.
Wait,
do you know, Leah, by chance?
I feel like the number I heard bandied around was more like 30 million. And I'm not sure what was included in that, but I do understand that it was more than just the funding that was problematic for the city. It was also operations and liability of a site like that is really, identified as more of a private enterprise kind of scenario. So I think it was more than the 30, but yeah. And I think as we did the planning process, we really wanted to see what the community wanted, and what the community wanted was something like Raging Waters again, not necessarily the water park, but something really fun and engaging that had a lot of activity. And so that is how we arrived at this plan and that cost.
Go ahead.
Could you tell me how much money has been appropriated now, that is available now, not including if the bond passes? What is the amount that has been set aside here?
Yeah, great question. We had funding separately to do demolition of the current site as well as create this Glendale Regional Park Plan. But the money that we have left for construction is about 3.2 million currently. So we're having our consultants design to that amount, which is what you see in phase 1. We're also exploring some additions. I don't need to get into the weeds, but there's a sustainable certification. It's almost like LEED certification for park sites that we want to explore to make sure that we're having a positive environmental impact with this park and improving the quality of life and the environment in this area. And so that will be additional money that we will be requesting in a budget amendment to City Council if the bond doesn't pass. And that'll happen in October. So we have 3.2 million, short answer right now.
Go ahead, Rick.
It seems to me there's a significant amount of open land to the south of the park and to the east of the river. What's going to happen with that land?
Yeah, great question. To the south of the park is the current Glendale Golf Course. So that will remain. That was not part of the Glendale Regional Park Master Plan. And then to the east of the river is land that is not owned by Salt Lake City. So we can only master plan for and develop land that's owned by Salt Lake City. But we are kind of exploring, sorry, I keep going on. We are kind of exploring opportunities to look at area east of the river, but currently that's not part of the plan.
Your satellite view looked like a great big brown area. Been gone over by bulldozers.
There is a great big brown area.
Any other questions here in person?
I have a question.
Yes, go.
Yes, could you tell me where exactly you're gonna put a pickleball court on the plan? Because
Yes.
2 months ago we talked about it, and it's gonna be on phase 1, right? And could you tell me where you're gonna put it and how many courts you're planning to put?
Is that Coach Aoife? I want to know.
Yes.
Hi, Coach.
Yes, that is correct. We will be putting in pickleball courts. Because of space in the park, we felt that it made sense to incorporate pickleball into the current Glendale Park. So we'll be putting the pickleball more west of the current Glendale Park, and then the full court basketball will be in the newly developed area. But we're currently looking at 6 courts for pickleball on the current Glendale Park site.
Is it by the tennis court?
Yes.
What was that? Yes.
It's like by the tennis courts.
Okay, well, go for 8 or 12.
24.
On 24, let me tell you this. We have 68 members from Glendale. You know, we travel daily to Paramount.
Yeah.
Okay, we need something big here in Glendale so we can stay here. Yeah, so and believe me, when you guys put a lot of pickleball courts here, you'll see it's the biggest in the city. Okay, you'll see a lot of people coming and play. So it'll be number 1. Glendale is number 1.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
I think there were 2 more questions online. If you don't mind just answering them verbally so folks here can hear those answers as well. I might be wrong. I can't see the chat live.
There's one, I think you answered what phase is the pool, but the next one is there a plan B if the bond doesn't pass? So how would other phases of the project be funded if the bond doesn't pass?
That's a great question. Public Lands is currently pursuing a lot of external funding opportunities, state and federal funding sources, as well as private funding sources. And we'd also continue to apply through the capital improvement project to get additional money from the city. It likely wouldn't be in as big of a kind of pot as it would coming from the bond, but we are exploring other opportunities in external and internal to the city in the event that doesn't pass.
All right, I'm going to move on to our next agenda item. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to move on to Eva from the mayor's office.
Hey, can you hear me and see me all right? Sorry, it's
Yes.
a little dark. I got a hat on, but we're cooking up dinner since it's getting late. I wanted to introduce everyone to myself. My name's Eva Lopez. I go by she, her pronouns, and I also speak Spanish. So para todos que están aquí atendiendo que hablan español, pueden comunicarse conmigo. Me gustaría conocerlos y ayudarlos y conectarlos con departamentos aquí en nuestra ciudad, también en la oficina de la alcaldesa. Thank you so much for having me, Turner. I just wanted to share quickly some updates. I know all of you are really busy and have been waiting online, but I'm really excited. I've been around in the community for a while, so I've already kind of jumped into different community matters and meeting with the West Side Coalition, the Jordan River Commission, Love Your Block, looking at different parts of the neighborhood, or even canvassing some of the neighbors that are in TSA zones. That way they have more education and knowledge about the zoning and the projects that are entering into their neighborhoods and communities. As well as pitching for the Salt Lake City Beast, which is a local, I believe they're 10 through 14-year-old young men that play baseball in Sherwood Park, and going with them to clean up the park and really just walking with them and being able to understand. So I want you all to know I'm trying to take a different approach where I can be more hands-on, because I love this part of our city and I think it's so beautiful. So thank you all for participating in the Glendale Neighborhood Council. I wanted to share, we do have our capital improvement projects up and running, so you can apply for that funding. It's up to $500,000 that you can apply for. It was talked about, whereas Kat mentioned, departments can work with constituents, or departments can also apply for that city funding. But if any of you have ideas, it can be used for lighting. I know that was brought up. Perhaps it's the revamping of a streetscape, or other opportunities such as gardens or parks. So it's a really great opportunity. That application closes on September 30th. So please reach out to either myself, or I can connect you with somebody in CAN that can help with that application process, as well as the community grant that Economic Development has up and running. And that grant allows for any businesses that can prove that they were impacted by COVID-19. And they have very specific eligibility requirements on that. So I'll share that link so you can read more about it. But businesses can apply for up to $50,000 of that grant, or an artist can apply for that too, or nonprofits can apply as well for up to $100,000 in that grant. I shared my information on there. Please keep my email and my work cell phone. That way we can communicate. I'd love to hear your ideas or thoughts. I also do want to share that I do have community office hours coming up on October 5th at Mestizo Coffee House from 11 to 3 p.m. Unfortunately, they do close at 3 p.m. But I'm looking for other locations where I can post myself and enter community spaces. That way I can share either knowledge or connections we have to other departments, or engage with constituents that possibly have not engaged with the city before. So I'm here to help, and I'm really excited to be a part of the community and be your community liaison. I'll take any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
I have a question really quick if I can.
Yeah, go ahead, and then we'll take one in person.
Okay, sure. So Eva, I am applying for the city grant, the 50,000. I'm an artist from the community. And this is a little bit of a tricky question. You may not know it, but, or if Turner knows it, I'm not sure. My question is, do you have to be negatively impacted, or is it enough to be an artist to apply? Does that make sense? So
Yeah. So they do have specific eligibilities. I'm gonna put the link here so that you can read it. Apologies, I'm pulling it up here. But specifically, for example, you had to have resided in Salt Lake City before January 1st of 2020. It has to be a home-based business. You know, it shows like very specific eligibilities. So maybe, have you looked at those by chance? Because it also talks about the discipline, it articulates what artist means. And I think that might also inhibit.
Yeah, I'm like kind of in the weeds of the inside the application, but I'm not sure I've seen the same page that you were seeing. So
Yeah, let me put this link really quick. And it says step by step, as long as you fall within those parameters, they're not concerned as to what the effects are, but you do have to show negative impact. And then it does articulate the type of artistry that's involved. It is broad, but if you don't fall in those categories, then unfortunately you wouldn't be eligible.
cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for your input and thanks for sending this link.
No problem. Thank you. And I will be there cleaning up. So I'm going to make sure I'm there on October 1st at the Jordan River. Is that correct? That's
Yeah.
the kayak cleanup. Okay, perfect. I'll be
We
there.
have one
So
more
please-
question for you.
Sure.
I noticed that you mentioned that you're going to be engaging with the community during business hours. I was wondering if you're planning anything after business hours, so most of us can engage with you. Maybe even attending the Glendale Community Council in person might be helpful.
Yes. So I don't have a vehicle, so I'm biking from one community council meeting to the other. So that is, unfortunately, I was limited today on that. But I do attend lots of different meetings in person. So they're not just in business hours, community office hours happened to be when Mestizo was opened. I reached out to Rancho Market and other places. So like I mentioned, if you have a suggestion, I would be happy to take that on because I prefer to meet in the evenings. But unfortunately in District 2, I did not find a host place that was able to take me in at those hours.
Thanks. Other questions? Kim, do you want to bring up what you have emailed me and Alejandro about?
Okay, sure, yeah. Ollie walked with me, I don't know if he's gonna talk at all, but we have been dealing with like a massive influx of homeless folks by the Labyrinth, which is really concerning because I walk there every morning and there's a lot of kids that walk to school on that path. And it was getting to be, I would say, between on a low end, 10 to upwards of probably 50 tents in the block between 1,300 and 1,700. Because it was also starting to go into the park where they play soccer and almost taking on both sides of the sidewalk there on the north side. But it was getting to be like where you're seeing people having mental health crises in the morning. I was walking my dog and a guy started harassing me, making me trying to like show him my dog because he thought I stole his dog and I was there by myself early in the morning. The kids are there walking to school by themselves. A lot of them are coming from apartment complexes where they don't have people driving them to school or they're walking with their siblings to school. Yeah, it just feels like that was not there a year ago. It does feel like there was a study done by the U that showed that this has been pushed into the Jordan River and the west side in our community. It's been noticeable. A lot of neighbors are really impacted by it. It does, like, they just cleared out the area by the Labyrinth 2 days ago, but now people are pushed just on other ends. They're even pushed to a place where the kids are still walking. So it does feel like it's kind of, I don't know, it just feels like this has been kind of put on our plate a little bit. And we understand that this is a citywide issue, but it does feel like the West and like a marginalized community that one of the only communities that is majority minority is like sort of taking on this burden from the city. And I mean, I saw like the meeting in the Mill Creek where they're arguing about putting an overflow shelter, where we're taking on, I think, like a lot of this impact right now. So just like wondering, like, what is a long-term plan? Because it does feel like you're just pushing them up south or up north. And like, I know I talked to Ollie about, like, it doesn't feel like there's much engagement from the city, from law enforcement at all, to where people are just there and it's complete chaos, you know? And I actually like talked to a lot of the homeless folks and they don't feel like they're being engaged either. So, and then we talk about things like tiny home village, which I thought was supposed to be this like thing for people who are shelter resistant, but what I've heard is that they're just pulling people from Crossroads and other places. So I don't see how that's gonna even impact the population. Anyway, that's all.
Thanks, Kim. It was Kim, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Kim, for sharing
Eva,
that.
I'll
And-
connect you directly as well.
Oh, I appreciate that, Turner. Thank you. And I did want to share with you, the tiny home village is not a city-led project, so that is separate. Just so you're aware. So I don't have up-to-date information on the tiny home village. That's being led by TOSA, the Other Side Academy, through private funding. So I know they're dealing with their zoning right now, and that's where the city's engaged at, just like we would with other development. Yeah, I was gonna say, I know Dennis is a great asset as far as connecting and resource when it comes to not just these symptoms, but trying to find shared space and community for different peoples. I did want to share though, you know, for me, the priority that you shared a lot of different kind of issues that you're experiencing with school children in particular. SLCPD actually has been running an operation where they clear through zones in the district, specifically around different schools. I don't have that information on me, but I can get that from Deputy Chief Zayas, who has that. And I would love to share that because I think when we hear that police isn't being included, we're actually trying to place more patrol and bike patrol, not just off of North Temple, which is a huge economic placement for them, as well as looking at what it might look like to bring a precinct into the area. So I know there's different negotiations happening there, but I think there's a lot to cover, and I'd like to have a longer conversation with you about that. But I did want to share that really quickly, that they are patrolling and making sure that school children in particular can cross safely to school, as well as abatement. So there's lots of different news and announcements happening as far as housing and what that might impact look like on the west side of our city in particular. But like I said, let me dig in a little bit. I'd like to articulate that better as far as the west side, since I'm new to the district, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, I think that's good, and I would love to, and I've talked to Turner about possibly trying to make this like the big agenda item at one of our GCC meetings. 'Cause I know,
Yeah, and
like-
maybe a meeting you could join in, Kim. Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say we do have a North Temple meeting where they talk about those exact issues that you're explaining, and that's another meeting that you're welcome to join too. I think the more voices that can expose these issues and symptoms, it allows us kind of dig deeper and target them. That way we're not just abating and it can feel like a chase, right? So we want to make sure that we're responding.
If I may, just one more comment, if this is Levi here, you mentioned more police patrols. I want to make sure that we don't think the solution is to escort our children to school. Police escort would never be acceptable anywhere else in the city while children are trying to get to school. What we really need to do is to make the area safer without our children needing police escorts. If 2 years ago, my children didn't need police escorts to walk to school, there's no reason why they should need it now. So maybe if the city can take that into account, I would love to also be part of a greater discussion.
Thank you. I think that's wonderful. And that's a great reminder. I always share with folks that part of this, you know, the goal isn't to police homelessness. There's lots of different ways to engage to make livable communities. And, you know, the West Side in particular is home to lots of small businesses and economic commerce, and revitalizing that spirit is going to be essential through different funding like these grants. So I want to connect and make sure that we take as much opportunity without having to feel like we're criminalizing or punishing a neighborhood, right? And you all deserve that neighborhood that you can articulate to me. I just want to share before I wrap up. You know, I was actually born in Salt Lake City, and my folks lived in Rose Park at the time in a tiny apartment. This was 26 years ago, and we're pushed out. I grew up in Idaho, but you know, I've heard these stories, and I understand what you're talking about because as a young woman of color, I've been in those situations. So I just want to share that this is something that's very personal to me. And I've been waiting almost 3 years to join the West Side as your liaison. So I hope you can be patient with me as I catch up, but I do want to be of service to you.
Thanks. I'm gonna,
One last comment.
okay,
As an adult, I have walked the Jordan River Trail between 13th South and 17th South. I've lived in Glendale for 45 years and I do not feel safe. I do not walk in that area at all, period. So besides the children, the adults are threatened in that area as well. And I don't know what the answer is. The problem is all over citywide, but particularly acute in this area. And it's, to me, it's terrifying. I do not walk in that area. I just don't feel safe.
Yeah, this is Michelle de Oliveira. I have a list of about 17 ordinances that I can share with you or email you or say them right now that are currently being ignored by the city. These are ordinances that our representatives have already put onto the books. This is what community members want, and they are simply being ignored. They are not being listened to. They're not given the strength or enforce or given the power to enforce these ordinances. And I want that to change because I want my neighborhood to be safer. I do not feel safe in my neighborhood.
My last comment is recently on 17th South, there were no parking during the hours, during the nighttime hours. And there are still people can't fall up and down 17th South overnight. I would piggyback on what she said. There is nothing done about these people. They are camped on 17th South in spite of what the signs say, no parking. If I park in a no parking area downtown, I would be given a ticket and probably eventually towed. And there does not seem to be any enforcement for some reason on 17th South.
if it's okay with you, I'm gonna move on to just Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
Department.
Turner, do you mind connecting me? I apologize. I wasn't able to catch their names, but I did hear their comments. And I think we can have an internal discussion with those individuals that would like to come together. I want to meet with them. And this is what I've done on Main Street and other parts of District 4. I'm sure we can facilitate that separately, but apologies that we don't have more time. But I've made note of them here, so I'll follow up with Turner if that's okay.
Yep. And
Thanks, everyone.
A lot of these are touching on criminal justice, so I'm just gonna let Salt Lake City Police, Detective Oliver, if you want to come up and respond. And then we'll go to Council Member Pui and Representative Romero.
Detective Oliver is part of the solution, guys, not part of the
No,
problem.
and I agree with you, I 100%.
Yeah,
We should not be escorting our kids to school. That's just ridiculous. But we did have a safe program or something where we were out in the area of, what was it, Jackson Elementary up off North Temple, and then there was another school over there along the river that we are seeing major issues. I've been on the west side for probably in this role for about 7 years, and I'll be honest with you, this is the worst I've seen it on the river. So that's our concern. We do have the new ranger program that's been started. The ranger program will be specifically for the river, so there will be non-law enforcement rangers. I don't know what you call them. They'll be walking up and down the river, and they actually will have a lot of knowledge about the things that are on the river, which is kind of cool. So if you have a question about the species of birds or whatever things are, it's kind of more that route than law enforcement. And then we're also looking with DNR to help us along the river, because it is a state. It goes from North Salt Lake all the way down through Utah County. So we're looking for some state help through the DNR.
I mean, the ecological impact is unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, and I don't want to be like, these are people who are going through rough times and they're trying to live their lives, and it's like horrible to be like the trees, but at the same time, like, if we're talking about redeveloping the Jordan River and like making it the star of like the community, it just seems like, I mean, you're looking at, I mean, it's devastated.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think there's one bridge from here to Davis County that doesn't have someone with underneath. And I can attest to that because I've been under every single one of the bridges from 2100 South all the way up to 1300 North. So that is a concern. Absolutely. Yeah.
I was writing something stuff and what my understanding what would be a real problem with open fires that were right next to the beach, next to the canal. And there's those big buildings right there, park is right there, and the house is on your right. And that was new, I have not seen something prior.
Yeah, and that's something that needs to be called in as soon as you see that, because fire they will go out and put those out. Because that's something we can't have, especially with the dry tinder that we have all along the river right now. Another thing, 17 South has been an issue for parking. The one thing that the city is running into is we can't take RVs. We have nowhere to put them. So as many RVs as we are out there, we'll go in, I think about every twice a month, we hit 17 South and knock on the doors and tell them we're gonna be back. And usually they'll leave, but then they'll come back. So that's the issue we're having. 17 South has been a focus for a long time as far as, I mean, was it maybe last year, there was probably 30 RVs all the way along, right? So we're trying to mitigate it. And I think there's 4 or 5 along the Jordan River area right now that we're gonna try and hit in the next week or so.
But they're not actually RVs, they're like these little trailers, and the
Encampments.
garbage is just spread everywhere.
Yeah, and
It's just unbelievable.
So
It's a
we
mess.
don't have any issues as far as if it's a vehicle that's not licensed or registered, we can take the vehicles as far as cars. But it's the RVs. We just don't have any room for the RVs.
If
So-
it's a trailer that's not attached to a car, can you pull
Yes.
that out?
And we have. It's just slow.
Yeah.
And
You know, it's, however,
Yeah.
I think, those people are very smart people. Sometimes they open their hood and pretend they are working on their car, it's broke down. We just can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, that's still a code enforcement, right? They're not supposed to be working on their car on the street.
Yeah.
So that is a code enforcement, and we're trying to hit that with code enforcement. And that's where we're trying to team up. We've made pretty good progress with working with code enforcement specifically. They got to a point where they wouldn't even knock on those doors because they've been threatened so many times. So we're going out with code enforcement twice a week to do that with them. We're kind of teaming up, and it's something we haven't ever done before, but it's been pretty effective. But 17 South is one of our main thoroughfares that we're trying to hit.
I don't know if it would help to be more specific instead of saying, do not park between these hours, just put up a sign that says, no camping. I mean, that's pretty.
They've got them all
gosh
over
darn
the
clear.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're everywhere. They're at Liberty Park. I mean,
So,
they ignore the hours, but if you say no camping, that's pretty clear.
so the health department does post those, and all those no camping signs are from the health department. You'll see them up along the Jordan River.
Yes.
Not super effective.
It's
No,
back to
it's
enforce, right?
not with the law.
Right. Yeah, but those no camping signs, the health department can get us those, and we can put them anywhere. So I'll see if we can get some on 17 South. That's a good idea. I know we've changed the parking hours. And we were even thinking about going no parking at all, but it's a park. That hurts the community when you can't park right next to the park and play tennis. You have to find somewhere else to go. So it's just walking that fine line where we're gonna go with that. So, I did want to introduce, I think I've already introduced, Sergeant Ties with our game task force. So if there's any questions concerning the game, we have a resident expert. So if you have any questions, you can always give them to me and I can feed them to him, or if you have any questions now, feel free to ask him.
I've noticed a lot more graffiti and stuff now, especially like kind of red tag or whatever that's been going out. Is there just like more, it does feel like to me that there's a lot newer folks around on the river that I don't recognize. They're not part of our neighborhood. They're, obviously with like the homeless, but it's like a new crew that could come in recently that's really devastated. Like I know Bend in the River's gotten really terrible lately. There's a party every morning at 6:30 a.m. We walk by it.
At the treehouse. In the treehouse.
With a fire usually.
Yeah, as far as the graffiti, we need to know about the graffiti.
Yeah.
We do have a graffiti, what is that, a hotline or something?
Yeah.
Program. So one tool you can utilize for the city, you have a game hotline, which is, 799 days. Or our website, slcp.com, if you want to file a report. There should be a drop down option for graffiti. You can submit a report, just give us an address and what you can go check it out. A lot of that probably like taggers, or results maybe more specific on game graffiti.
I saw it, so there's a 13 this other day.
That's
I just saw that pop up.
the Rainbow 13.
I haven't seen that like since I was
Yeah.
A teenager. Like,
And that's something he wants to know about, because he wants to know where they're filtered.
Yeah, that was kind of by the bend of the river, going, I was like, thought, as you are 13, I'm like, wow. That's, you know, like, they're all, some of them are locked up, you know, it's like, wait, I haven't seen this in a long time.
And I think on SLC.com, there's an option to progress.
Yeah, I'll start doing that.
Yeah.
And that's,
Definitely what we know about it, helps us kind of fire our suppression efforts.
I don't know if you get the Salt Lake City mobile app information on tagging bids.
So there, right now, there's not an option for it.
Okay. Okay, and that would be helpful. The Salt Lake City app is incredible, but don't use it to report a crime, because we don't see that at all. Okay, it won't go into our statistics, it won't go into our hotspots. So if a crime occurs, please 799-3000-911. Right, just remember, if your crime is happening or a crime happened, just call those numbers. If it's happened in the past, you can get online, fill out a report online. It still goes to the detective. The detective will still follow through with it. And then if you do it online, it helps us out more, because it puts more officers on the beat instead of filling those out. I did want to bring up actually something about 17th South that we just found out last week when we cleaned it up. 5 of the 6 RVs were sent in from another city. So another city police department actually told them that they could come to 17th South. So I'm a little frustrated with that, and Captain Zayas is on top of it. So
Like dropping the migrants off back east.
yes, so 100%. So that's a big concern. I haven't seen that to this degree before, but all 6 of them, or all 5 of the 6, said that they were in down south, and they were told to come up here because they could sit on 17.
That, so I can make sure it's good.
So that's
so mad.
And that's what we're also seeing along the river. We're seeing a lot of people that we just.
And ultimately, I hope the city, and I hope someone from the city is listening, as well as the police department, we are not stupid. Like, we know it's not a homeless problem. These are open drug markets. There is a lot of drugs, a lot of things happening there, a lot of prostitution. You can drive in the morning, I drive to work every morning, 1700 South. And in the middle of the night, when I'm working late, people are lining up in front of those RVs. Unless they're handing out food or they're handing out medicine, I don't know what is happening.
We
But
had
people are
3 of
lining
them.
out.
We had 3 of them right here doing the exact same thing, right in front of the library.
Yeah, so
So-
maybe I need to stand in line and find out what the line is for, but I have a good idea what it's for.
Yeah.
If I were to say that white van, does everyone know what I'm
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
There's a white van at 1700 South parking lot.
Always
An
there.
old
It
people
goes
line.
from the parking lot from the park across the street to the Raging Water parking lot all day, moving back and forth throughout the week. It's
We've
the
watched
same
hundreds,
van.
garbage,
To the driver.
everything, yeah.
So the thing we also have to be really concerned about or aware of is there is a 48-hour parking, unfortunately, in the city, right? So you can park on any city street for 48 hours, you just have to move a block face,
I would investigate that person though.
unless it's marked, unless it's signed.
Yeah, not if it says you can't park there till 11 o'clock at night until
Correct.
5 o'clock in the
Correct,
morning.
unless it's
But
signed.
how do you know they've been there all night long?
So we'll chalk it, we'll chalk the
I
ground.
threw him to something.
You know, the question that I never got to ask that kind lady that was talking about regional park, she said there's gonna be a fence all the way around the regional park. Will they lock it?
Can I bring us back together really quickly? So, because I know we can all talk about this all night. I want to give 2 announcements really quick, and then I'm going to call on Dennis Ferris real quick to provide some other resources on homelessness real quick. So after Dennis goes, I have another update, and then we'll come back for other crime issues.
Yeah. And gang issues, if you have any gang questions, Sergeant Titus is the expert.
Thanks. Dennis.
Thank you very much, Turner. Hello, everyone. My name is Dennis Ferris. I work with VOA, Volunteers of America, and working with neighborhoods to mitigate any concerns regarding homelessness. A lot of what you have brought up tonight, we are definitely working on. I work very closely with Detective Oliver and Captain Zayas, the Salt Lake City Police Department, as well as compliance, parking enforcement, everyone, everywhere, trying to figure out whatever we can do to help impact the concerns you're seeing. There are definitely a lot of incidences occurring, as everyone has mentioned, up and down the Jordan River. There is further action happening there throughout the week. What you said, you saw happen earlier at the Peace Labyrinth. They are progressing northward along the Jordan River tomorrow. So I would love to hear reports from anyone too on how that changes, what you're seeing there. If those that moved, if they are moved enough, if not, then we need to know about that too. So a big thing definitely is for you to use SLC Mobile, the app that Detective Oliver mentioned. That app allows this, it reports pretty much anything you'd like to the city. With that, we can work on recognizing which vehicles are where for how long. There is a meeting that the city hosts every Thursday morning. So Detective Oliver and I will be there first thing in the morning to discuss every camp within the city, every illegally parked vehicle, trying to figure out, okay, here's the problems that we have around this city, and here's the resources that we have available to affect them. Someone mentioned that this is a problem everywhere, and it truly is. I just saw a report yesterday that shows a statistic that housing prices have raised more in the last 2 years than they have in the previous 20, if I remember it correctly. There's just increased housing rates of late. So we are seeing definitely increased rates of homelessness. And with that, seeing more people everywhere. So trying our best to balance what resources we've got available. So really just need to know more about what you're seeing, how and where, so that we can impact them, prioritize accordingly, and impact as best we can. Along the stuff on all the stuff along 1700 South, definitely aware that it's a consistent issue, has been for years. And so we want to be able to keep impacting it. Just need to hear from everyone whenever you're seeing something so that we can prioritize accordingly. Any specific questions regarding homelessness or concerns surrounding anything about homelessness?
I'm going to do one question and then we're going to move on.
Sure.
The police officer mentioned that we had new RVs that were being moved to our 17 South from other cities. That's a major concern. We have cities in the valley that are trying to come to our neighborhood. And how are we addressing that? And do we have the contact information for those cities to call and say, we don't want this, please stop. Please stop doing this. Or do we get chapters involved and say, this is what other cities are doing, moving them to Salt Lake?
Absolutely. I heard most of what you said there. That is an extreme concern. I did write it down, and we'll absolutely be talking to Detective Oliver very soon. I was going to text him as soon as we were done talking here, so that we can find out exactly who was reported to be sending them there, so that we can talk to those jurisdictions and figure that out. I've got contacts in South Salt Lake, West Valley, wherever this is happening. If it's in the Unified Police Department, we need to clarify that and clear that up, because that absolutely shouldn't be happening. It's not cool. And Detective Oliver is texting me details right now. So we will definitely be having these discussions. Trust me.
I'm going to move on. I know we can talk about this topic all night. We are working right now on coordinating a joint town hall with Mayor Mendenhall and Councilmember Pui that we will hold in either October or November here at the library. And we'll make sure that senior staff are there as well to answer questions on this. I don't know that there's anybody here that has the power to take action right now. So what we're going to do is coordinate with our elected officials to provide that forum for everyone. So I encouraged Kim, I encouraged others, please come to that event and bring your concerns.
I would want the health department here too.
I will make note. So I'm going to move. Detective Oliver, did you have updates on crime stats or anything? It's fine if you don't. I didn't ask you to.
The only concern is our homicides are up, especially in District 2. And I know that is, our last one was up in Poplar Grove, was the game drive-by. So, yeah, that's our biggest concern, is the drive-by. That's a real concern. Been a concern forever.
But if there's any questions on that?
I just had one about that. I have
That was a SWAT. Yeah, that was, the SWAT did it. 2 weeks ago or so.
I'm going to just move on. I don't think they can hear you on here. I'm going to move on. We have Councilmember Pui next on the agenda and then Representative Romero.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I couldn't make it today. I should have. I was supposed to be in a hotel right now, but my plane had a windshield cracked, and we had to land back again. But everything paid off at the end, I think, because I realized that our chief of police was in the same plane. So we ended up talking about 1700 South because a few neighbors brought it up in a few conversations we had recently. And I requested the chief to install one of those cameras that we funded in the last few days to curb some of the drug dealing that is happening there and the prostitution and all the other shenanigans that go along with that. The chief responded to my email. He was a seat over. There was someone in between. We were exchanging emails. And he committed to request that camera and to get that camera installed as soon as possible. But again, these issues we're dealing with issues that are bigger than just a camera. We're dealing with issues that are much harder to solve than just face value. I'm committed to listening to you and to walk with you the river, or to walk to any issues and to meet with you. I've met with some of your neighbors in that area, and I think, and I will disagree that this is an issue that is happening in the same levels across the city. That is actually absolutely not true. What we're seeing on the west side is significantly worse. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, and it's worse. And it is frustrating. It is also a very hard issue to solve. It's not only about enforcement. It is not only about policing, and it's not only about our laws. It's not only about our jail. It's about all of them combined, and on top of that, addiction, mental health issues, and very importantly, housing. And we're seeing the perfect storm brewing, and it's not an issue that is only happening in Salt Lake. I visited recently Denver a couple more times to work on some of the issues to learn about some of the issues and how they are working through those. And I visited San Francisco as well. And as you might know, it is not known for solving this issue very well either. But most major cities in the country are dealing with this problem. That said, it doesn't mean that we need to give up. And I think everybody here, the administration included, are working very hard to try to find solutions. So in any case, please let me know if there are issues that I need to advocate with you to the administration. My role as a city council member is to advocate for the issues that you bring to me, and to learn about them, and to try to learn about what our restraints and constraints are, and see how we can solve them. But just to give you a quick update, I know that I already went to talk too much about that issue, and I think there is not enough time in the world to talk about that because it's that important. But when we were listening to the administration tell us about the Glendale Regional Park, you might have noticed that the administration always says, if this thing doesn't happen, right? If the voters don't vote for this, it's because by law the administration cannot advocate for this issue. The administration has to leave it to the voters and just give you the facts of what the money will do, and that is how they where they stop required by law. Fortunately, council members can actually advocate for this issue, and I believe that this is a big deal. It is our only chance I can tell you this for a fact, this is our only chance to be able to pay for this park. If not, we're never going to have enough money to build this park. There is no way. So what happens, and what happened historically, is we get the short end of the stick. So I tell you, and I know that taxes are not a happy conversation to have with everybody, but this is our only chance to make this space a usable space, a place that is activated, a place that is an amenity to our city and to our residents. And I can advocate for this, and I believe wholeheartedly that this needs to happen. But on the Geo Bond, on the general obligation bond, there is also something very important, which is money for the Jordan River, in improvements and in activation. And when we're talking about criminal activity and we're talking about all of those issues that we're seeing in the river, we need activation also. So we need things to happen in the river. We need the river to be inviting. We need it to be clean. So all of those things are related to money, and the Geo Bond is very important for that reason as well, because there is not enough money in the city to pay for all of this. So I am advocating for this. Again, it's up to you how you vote for this, and I understand if you disagree. But I can tell you that this is our only chance. So that is one of the updates I wanted to give you. The other one is regarding the Other Side Village. You probably heard quite a bit about the village, everywhere, and for months now. And we extended the time to receive more public comment for a couple more weeks. And we encourage you to tell us what are your concerns about the project. The project, by the way, is not as big as initially envisioned. It is phased out, and the administration, and this is the mayor and her team, had negotiated with this provider requirements in a contract, and the city will remain owner of the land, which makes a city landowner or a landlord to this provider, which gives us all sorts of control with the provider. If things get out of control, if things don't look like they're saying they will look, the landlord, in this case the city, can pull a victim, basically. We'll probably need to make there's some legalities there and some improvements that will have to be purchased, but the negotiations, because of public feedback, because of so many concerns from the community, have moved this project from being 400 units to being a small portion of that, from not having all sorts of answers about like how they're going to deal with people leaving the facility. Are they going to have fencing or not? Are they going to have a supermarket or not? And all of these things have been negotiated with them, and they are going to be part of the contract with them. Now, there's still concerns and still questions. There's still, but to be completely sincere, if we hold all other providers to the same level that we're holding this provider, will be in better shape in our state, I think. And no one wants to see in the neighborhood what is happening near the shelters in downtown. So, and that I'm not gonna let it happen. And I give you my word on that. But in any case, I hope that those are the most important updates I wanted to give you. Again, sorry I'm not able to be there right now. I'm going to do my best to attend the next meeting in person. And as you know, we are council members. We have our own jobs, and we're trying to balance, this council job that is part-time, allegedly, and our other jobs. So I appreciate everybody. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Go ahead.
When is the next council meeting going to be pertaining to the shelter out there like they had yesterday?
Did you hear that?
When is the next council meeting?
Related to the shelter, the Other Side Village.
Not a shelter, the Other Side Village. The council chair have placed it tentatively on the October 4th agenda. And again, I will let you, if Turner, can you connect me with this person? I can send you the information of the meeting. I can also send you the documents the administration created and the contract that they're going to be building with, signing with this provider. So you know what the project is.
Yep.
Tammy from the city will be presenting at the Popular Grove Community Council, so if anyone from this community council wants to go attend the Popular Grove Community Council next week, they can.
That's next Thursday night, I believe, right?
Next Monday.
Next Wednesday.
So, Councilman Puig, Tammy from the city is going to be presenting on the teeny home contract at the Popular Grove Community Council, so I suggested people attend that.
Yeah, so that was an interesting, so that was one of my requests to the administration to present to the Popular Grove Community Council. There was some debate about if the teeny home community, the teeny home village provider presented to them or not. They did in group. I mean, the Turner explained that to us. They did and combined with all the community councils. But the Popular Grove Community Council felt like they needed another time to express themselves and to learn more about the project. And you know, on Tuesday actually at like 3 p.m. I sent an email to the administration to request for that meeting. So yes, I encourage you, if you have questions about what the project is, to attend that. Maybe we can find the link and, you know, Turner, maybe we can share it. I think that might be a useful thing to share with your part of time.
Yep. We'll also send out info about the Other Side Village, link to it, all of that. So you'll have that. Other questions? All right, I'm going to move on to Representative
I think
Romero.
everyone's probably tired,
Yeah.
but I disagree with the council. I agree with the council member, like housing is a big issue because we're looking at inflation and we're looking at housing. And just so you know, my name is Angela Romero and I am your current representative. I represent House District 26. Our district has changed significantly, so we're going to be House District 25 as of January 1st. And our district demographics have changed too. So our district will only now be part of Popular Grove and Glendale, and then 60% of it will be West Valley. And one unique thing is we'll be the only minority majority, so making people of color the majority in our district. So 62% of people who will live in this now newly formed district will be from communities of color, Latinos being the highest percentage. So I'm learning a whole new district because again, 60% of our district now is going to be West Valley, and that's just due to redistricting. So Representative Briscoe is going to come to my eastern end, which is the ballpark area. And so I will represent all of you here in these neighborhoods and then members in the West Valley. So today we had interim meetings, and so each of us belong to a different committee meeting. I serve on law enforcement and criminal justice, and I also serve on public utilities, technology, and environment. And I presented a couple of bills in law enforcement. I have a bill on dating apps, and so we want to make sure that when people are using dating apps, which I've never had to use before, but if when you get on your dating app, it'll with this bill and it passed committee, and then we'll go on to the full legislature once we meet. It'll automatically tell you whether they do background checks or they don't. We always like to remind people that even if you do a background check on someone, doesn't mean that you know everything about them. But also within this dating apps, we're going to give people safety precautions. And we want to make sure we're not victim blaming either. So we've been working with Dr. Julie Valentine from BYU, who's an expert on sexual assault and probably in the world. And so she helped us craft language, and part of that language is do not rape someone. So, but if something like traumatic like that was to happen, we want to make sure that the dating apps don't bury that information in the back. So it'll be upfront so people can find that information. And also if someone's committed fraud, and we know that's many fraud, because a lot of people, you would be surprised how many people have fallen for things where they're giving people money. And so if we identify someone, we know they're committing fraud, the dating app is, we'll have to notify people that have been in communication with them that this person might not be who they say they are, and they might be catfishing you. So that's one of my bills that passed committee. The other bill that passed committee, because I specialize in sexual assault, domestic violence, and human trafficking prevention, is we just wanted to codify the difference between a nonprofit. I serve on the board of Rape Recovery Center and an institution. So these guys have victim advocates in their department, and And when you talk to a victim advocate, if you've been sexually assaulted, that could possibly be used against you in the court of law because they're an institution, so they fall under a different jurisdiction. But say you go to a rape recovery center and you talk to a counselor, that will be protected under, because that's a client, privilege there. So there's a difference. So I think a lot of times people don't understand the differences. We just wanted to define the differences between an institution and a nonprofit. And also there's a lot of people that are influencers and popping up on social media saying they know certain things about different topics, and we want to make sure those individuals aren't, the people know that that is not the place you should go. Like, that's just an influencer. It's not someone who's trained to give you therapy. So that's kind of what I did. That's what I do on that committee. And then we had our Public Utilities Committee. Right now, the EPA is asking Utah to shut down their coal power plants. Previous administration said shut down, they made an agreement about shutting down coal power plants. This administration has a different idea. So that was a conversation we had, and that impacts all of us. It impacts the electricity we have here now. So that'll be interesting. I'll update everyone because I know it's just really exciting about that. And the other interesting thing that was discussed in that committee is the ESG rating. And so it's basically an environmental, the social and governance risk factor that some banks use. I didn't realize this was really controversial, but I guess it was. And so someone's trying to run a piece of legislation, and the banking industry came to my committee and said, we don't like that. So I don't know where that's going to go. But overall, that's kind of what we do when we're in interim. We discuss things that are individual committees. And I'm sorry, I've been in meetings since 8:30 this morning, so my brains and my mouth are not, they're tired. So that's kind of what's went on. And I know we're all pretty much tired, but what I'll do is I will send Turner our annual newsletter, and it'll break down every committee for you, because I can't report on every committee because there's lots of committees. And then if you're interested in a particular topic, you can kind of look at that. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and then I'll help you solve that answer or address your concern. So that's it.
Thank you. What a marathon. Thanks, everybody. Really quick, some final announcements, just to reiterate. Community cleanup, Tuesday, the 27th at 5:30. Friends of Glendale Parks, we're looking for folks to get involved in that. Jordan River cleanup on October 1st. And then we are organizing the meeting with the city council and the mayor, and we'll have information on that soon. Please sign up for our new email newsletter if you want to receive updates on events, meetings, and all of the developments happening in the neighborhood. Yes.
Hey, Jenna, this coming Saturday, we have a celebration of the new park
Yes.
on the east side of the tennis court. So everybody's welcome to come over there. Start at 5 to 7 p.m. this coming Saturday. So it's very important to be there so we can, come.
Guaranteed to make it rain. This is the third party that they've had.
Well, I stopped the rain this weekend, no rain.
No rain?
No rain.
Good, you guarantee.
Yeah, guaranteed. All right.
Thanks to everybody for coming.
Let's go over and enjoy that.